Hello, everyone. It's a Wednesday where we talk with Ricky Williams. Today, we also happen to be talking with my boyfriend from high school, Dan Leverty. Hi, Dan. How's it going?
I'm fantastic. Excited for the show.
Nice. I'm wondering why you broke up with me in high school.
Um, some animals can't be tamed, let me tell you.
If
Well
he
said.
hadn't have broken up, we'd still be together, Ricky.
I
25.
I think we would, but I wouldn't want to put you through that, Andy.
That's true. Thanks for saving me. Thanks for saving me.
You
Um,
bet.
okay, you're probably wondering why Dan is on the show today, Ricky. And this is actually a really, really important topic. And Dan has agreed to be an open book. Okay, it's a little personal. Okay, so Dan has been diagnosed with some things and is having some symptoms in life. And they attribute it possibly to a football head injury. Okay, so what's that called?
That's called
CT,
CT.
CTE, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to explore today is the culture of football and what it would say about these symptoms that Dan has versus the culture of astrology and what we would say about these symptoms that he has. And I thought it'd be a really cool episode since you're a football player, Ricky, and you kind of deal with both subsets of people. And it's like, so Dan, let's hear about what are the symptoms?
Well, a lot of it's anger. Um, there's starting to lose memory, things like that. Um, just a general irritability. Um, yeah, it's just hard to focus, hard to sometimes hard to communicate with people, and a lot of anger. I call it the demon.
Mm,
Okay, Ricky, do you see that Mars and Leo square Uranus?
I do. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So can you see, so we are seeing anger in the chart. Okay, I mean, at least I am. Okay, I don't know if Ricky agrees.
Well, I mean, I would add that the Mars is conjunct Saturn also. And
Yes.
and I think that's yes, I would say that's yeah, part of it.
And it's in Leo, so it's actually a hot Mars. It's like a Mars in a fire sign. But okay, we'll get to what this means, Dan, but we're just doing,
But I would so for me, I would also add that the Mars squares the South Node. That would be important
oh,
in
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
the
Okay. Okay, so we're just doing a few calculations to see that we agree that your chart definitely has an anger thing in there. Um, so okay, but let's talk about CTE. So the
Well, there's one more piece though because he did mention the anger, but there was also something else in there,
mhm. What's that?
and I think that's the sun opposing Neptune
Okay.
and the moon in Pisces.
Yeah, Moon and Pisces super sensitive to auras and people. I like uh, Dan, I don't know if you're sensitive. I mean, you're kind of a softie, but like a lot of Pisces moon people have problems because they actually pick up on other people's literal vibes, you know? So if someone's even vibing you wrong, it might set off your anger, but
Well, I mean more literally, if someone said, I'm having issues with loss of memory, I would, and I'm looking at the chart, I would think, and it's not always in a negative way, but the moon in Pisces, like some things, we're better off forgetting.
yeah.
Uh, but also the sun and Gemini opposing Neptune, right? They both could right? Because to me, in medical astrology, the first thing is seeing, because whatever the external events that manifest whatever the predisposition, it's a predisposition that's being triggered by the environment. And the predisposition will be seen in the chart. So even if someone is talking about symptoms from whatever, you would still have to see the predisposition in the chart. And there's a predisposition for anger stuff and a predisposition for quote unquote loss of memory stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, that's why I want to bring you on, Dan, because Ricky's a football player and he's gotten hit in the head a lot too. And
All right. Okay.
and and so what the culture of football and kind of sports management would say is that your problems are due to the head injury. That's kind of a cultural way of describing, because in this show we look at culture and astrology. That's why I keep saying it's a cultural layer. But I do think that is the culture of sports is if an old boxer is having memory issues, they say it's because they got hit in the head too much. So that's part of the culture of sports.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be certain charts where you see a predisposition to, if this person was in the wrong environment and they were hit in the head enough, right? What would manifest, right? And it's edgy to talk about this at the same time we're talking about football, because these are realities and we can see it in the stories of retired players. You know, a good example in my chart, I'm very susceptible to Parkinson's. You know, the predispositions in my chart. You know, predisposed to neck stuff. You know? And I played football, and so I know, and I keep a close eye that I know that these symptoms very much could materialize in my life because of the predispositions in my chart and the environment that I put myself in.
So, Dan, does it make sense to you to say that the chart is kind of genetic? They call it your genesis, actually, that we're almost saying you're genetically predisposed towards anger. And because you got hit in the head, it might have exacerbated that, but the chart is predisposing you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
Well,
As a
wait,
young man, I was not angry. When you knew me in high school, I was not angry. I was the happiest person I know.
Hmm.
Um, but then things happened to me, and I was also in a car accident, put my head through the windshield. So I've had over 100 concussions.
yeah.
You
So
know,
this is what I was gonna say is
That's a good point.
it's tricky to say anger, and that's why again I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but it's 100% safe to say accidents where you bump your head. All right. And we could say if those aren't resolved, it could easily manifest as anger issues and loss of memory. Because the two in astrology, the two accident planets, and before I even said it, you said it first. But the two accident planets in astrology are Mars and Uranus. And for you, they are square each other.
Which means
And
they're
for
90 degrees apart. It's just they're talking to each other basically.
they
okay.
have a relationship where they tend to get in trouble when they tend to cause issues for each other. So it's safe to say that this chart is accident prone. I mean, we can say more and soften it,
Well,
but it's safe to say 100% safe to predict that this chart is going to experience accidents.
and we don't want to scare you, Dan. We're not
Oh
trying to
no,
scare you.
I'm not
Well,
scared of that.
it's
You
not
know, and
afraid because it's
that
his
makes
life,
sense.
right? Exactly. It's not like,
Yeah, I've
and
lived
you know,
this life. I
yeah.
understand it.
I could break it down more psychologically, but we don't need to right now. And so because Mars rules Aries, and Aries is the part of the body that rules the head, yeah, right, and Mars rules anger, then there's a direct connection between head injuries and anger. And even if we think of people who are headstrong, you know, I have a lot of areas in my chart. I was a running back. I led with my head. Okay, is that when we're angry, right? Our jaw clenches, right, and we get ready for battle. I think that's why they use Aries, the ram, as the symbol. So this Mars energy, when it's active in our chart, right, we're gonna have to right have these types of. We're gonna attract these types of experiences.
Well, so I will add, Dan, that
Yeah.
one of the thing about a chart is it's how we're built, and then it unfolds over time through this like the current planets. So we call them transits. But you think about like the planets as a 10-handed clock. Like in the sky, it's this big clock. And whereas the clock that we look at, like we all got here at 4 o'clock p.m. or 2 o'clock p.m., that's the quantitative clock. Like what is the quantity of time? Well, this big planetary clock shows the quality of time, right? Like what does this time feel like right now? And when we have part of our chart laying dormant, it can get activated throughout our life. So at the age of 21 and 22, this kind of angry, accident prone tendency you have got really triggered at 21, 22. So I don't know if there was a flurry of head injuries at that time or anger that started at that time. I don't know. But I'm saying that we actually see triggers to it that it didn't get triggered until 21, 22. So it might have started to develop later in life is what I'm kind of trying to say there. And then also when you're 42, 43 is a big exacerbation year of that aspect. So like we can actually time cyclical outbursts. Like I could go into your chart and look for the next 6 months and be like, oh, outburst right here, outburst right here, because it's a cyclical fluctuating clock.
I would agree with that actually. In my early 40s, I'm 49 now, and in my early 40s, that's when anger really was something to deal with.
Yeah, I can even look at the exact years that it was happening, but and we would say your chart's built that way for a reason. I mean, we always look at people are beautiful just as they are. Like, why did God create you to have this fierceness in your temperament? Like, I think you have a warrior spirit. Like, your chart is a warrior, and maybe when you were playing football in high school, you were getting a lot of that anger out on the battlefield, and like it didn't come out in your domestic life or whatever. But if you have a warrior chart and you don't get to express that Mars, then it can come out as like domestic issues. Um, so hey Ricky.
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting that the timing of this conversation, that for the next 6 months to a year, Uranus going back and forth between the Mercury and the Sun, transiting Pluto, going to activate the Mars-Uranus square.
Yeah.
So it's as we're talking about it, it's one of those times is approaching.
That's true. You do have a planet of the big-handed clock. The Pluto hand is hitting your aggro part right now. So what Ricky's seeing is that this year you're kind of in an aggro flare is what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
I understand, Ricky. Ricky, we should really start showing the charts to people.
Yeah.
You screen
Yeah.
share? I don't know. But okay,
Yeah.
Dan, I want to look back in time. Um, so it looks like 2018 started a flare. It was like 2018, 19, uh, yeah, 18, 19 were a flare year. Um, and that's kind of how we think, even if we don't really pinpoint it exactly. Just this is how the astrology culture deals with flaring moods, is we look at this clock and try to figure out when is it going to flare, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, 1819 actually was, oddly enough, was quite a year for me in a really difficult way to deal with. I lost a relationship. I fractured my relationship with my kids, and I really had a lot of things to deal with, a lot of that anger, and it was a real struggle. It was a real fight.
Hmm. See, so I'm a little bit in battle right now, and I'm fighting for the astrology side. And I'm like, I think astrology can understand your flares of anger better than the CTE label, because that's a static label. It says you're CTE, but then why the flares? Like nothing's examining the flares other than the astrology layer. And it's like what I would love to do is like work with you where we start seeing them coming. We're like, I see a flare next Thursday. What are we going to do about it? Like you start doing strategic planning where we're like, can you get your martial arts sword out and start fighting? It's like we do a lot of, like martial arts has the word Mars in it, like martial arts. Like a lot of martial artists are warrior spirits and stuff. So it's like we start training you to be a warrior basically, and saying anytime you flare, can we, and maybe you become an activist, or you start flaring on social issues, or I don't know. We got to use the flare.
Yeah, use that for good instead of just a battle inside.
Yeah, you got it. But I think sometimes to use it for good, we have to fight the battle inside. You know? And so to me, I think of the gift of astrology is it's a creative tool for storytelling. And I say storytelling because to me, the planets represent like gods. and I not the way that we tend to think of them, but the idea of forces that make shit happen. Okay. And so if Mars was the god of war. And so what kind of shit does Mars make happen? Right? War, right? Or strife. Things where we have to fight. We have to, show up, right? At the very least, we have to draw a line in the sand. Right? And there's infinite stories about battle. And there's stories where someone is victorious, and there's stories about where people are not victorious. And if Mars is active in someone's chart, right, they're gonna have to experience those events. And ideally they learn from them. So I think this is what Andy was talking about. If someone has a strong Mars or a lot of Mars stuff in their chart, and they can embrace the archetype or the idea of the warrior, then they start to frame their perspective on life in a way that allows a constructive expression of the Mars energy, right? And in your chart, the Mars is interacting with the planet Uranus. And this is the rebellious energy, right? The need to be free, the need to break free of anything that is going to try to squish us or confine us, right? And so there's like this natural hair trigger of any time you feel confined, right? The warrior is activated and ready to fight and to cut anyone, right? And so this willingness, right? I call it a willingness, but it's a mechanism, right? To fight for freedom, right? And it's what Andy was saying. Once this is directed in a way where you found something that incenses you in the world, right? This is horrible. This should not be happening, right? And this willingness to fight to make a difference and to change it, right? That's an example of a way to express it. So one image, the freedom fighter, okay, fighting for some liberation, because the nature of Uranus and why we have it is out in the world. There's rules, there's standards that are stupid, that are old, and they need to be changed. And sometimes in order to be changed, because they're so rigid, it requires some kind of passion or fire or force. And if you can find something that fits, right, that fits that target, then you have a place to direct the energy.
Ricky, sorry, Dan, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, that really hit home, Ricky, because I am a person that needs to be free. As any woman that's ever tried to hold me down knows, you can't. You got to work with me. You can't hold me down. Life can't hold me down. People can't hold me down. A job can't hold me down.
Here we go.
And I have been at my best when I do fight for what I believe and stand up. And I'm one who will stand by myself, and I will scream to the world what I believe. And I have zero problem being the first one or only one to stand on what I believe.
Perfect. Yeah. Exactly.
I love that you said freedom fighter, Ricky, because I'm going to get a little technical here, Dan. See how his Saturn's at 28 and then it goes into the Mars? It's like I'm blocked and then I explode. Anytime he's blocked or feels, like his family's being attacked or anything, it's just like it explodes. Okay, so I drew a picture of how you're built in this map here. So, the place in which your chart gets inflamed is in the solar plexus. I don't know if you know the chakras much, Dan, but it's like the solar plexus is like the heart, the fire heart kind of area. So like you go really inflamed right in the heart muscle. And I don't know if you feel energy like right here when you're mad, but this, from what I'm looking in the chart, it gets really inflamed, like really around the heart. Like some people get inflamed in the foot, and some people get inflamed on the leg, and some people get inflamed at the top of the head. But your chart gets inflamed right in the heart, right? And in the solar plexus area, which is like my will, it's like your will is really strong. And so it's like if I were fighting this chart, because I'll fight with you. If you want to fight later on your next transit, I'm ready. Like I'm not afraid.
I'm always down for a good fight.
I have a warrior chart too. I'm a fighter, man. I fight. I got Mars at the 20th degree and I go off. I got sent to anger management training, by the way.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but I do just want to say that, like, to me, it's literally chi. It's literally energy. Like we take sunlight in the eyes, it goes down the spine and it comes out our chakras. It extrudes through them. It's like your chart's like the extrusion of God through you, basically. And your extrusion is extremely fired up in the heart. And so when you get mad, it's like this, like, where some people might headbutt you or like elbow you, you're just like, you want to go? Like that, it's that kind of energy.
I would agree with that. I mean, I feel that, and I'm always I'll get pushed to a point, and then all of a sudden my reaction's too much, where it is that rah, that coming out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
so part of the story and what we're saying, I think anyone who knows a decent amount of astrology can follow. But there's a layer, right? Is in that layer is there's a lot of planets in the south node in the sign of Taurus. And if people talk about Taurus, the bull, they recognize what you just said, right? Is that it builds, it builds, it builds, and then it explodes.
I know
Right?
you're a Gemini, Dan, but you have a lot in Taurus. You have three planets in Taurus. You're kind of like a Taurus Gemini.
It's three planets in Taurus, but the South Node and Venus, the South Node ruler, are in Taurus.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Okay.
there's much more Taurus in this chart than meets the eye.
Yeah. I understand what Ricky's saying. I know you don't, Dan, but a lot of the viewers do too. So we're kind of talking to the viewers as well.
that's good.
Well, it says that here's what it means. Like if you if you're just talking about Geminis, okay, and someone is talking about Geminis, and Geminis, are always talking and they talk a lot and they never shut up and they're two-faced, right? You might kind of be able to relate to it, but there's something in you that's just naturally more grounded than that.
Yeah. You are pretty
That's
earthy.
like,
I do think you are kind of very, you got that like earth of Taurus too. Like you're not like a flighty Gemini. Are you guys have the same birthday? Are you
yeah, we're a day apart. Yeah.
okay, you guys
A
are a day
degree,
apart.
we're a degree apart. Yeah. But also we're both Geminis with Mercury and Taurus.
Totally.
But to me, this Mercury and Taurus is more profound than mine because the Mercury is conjunct Venus, the ruler of the South Node.
Totally. I'm just showing the crowd this Mars in Leo square Uranus and Scorpio is what we're looking at for the anger flares. This
Yeah, what I'm trying to put in context is yes, the Mars, Uranus, and the anger flare, but as I mentioned before, they're square the Taurus South Node. So it's like what makes it worse is there's such a powerful need and belief in peace. It's like I try. Boom.
interesting.
Right? Right?
Yeah, you are kind
And
of like a peaceful. Talk back to us about that.
I couldn't agree more with what you said there, Ricky. And that's really the internal structure. I'm always I'm always trying to be centered. I'm always trying to find that peace, not only within myself but within others. Like that rage comes out when injustice happens, and then I will speak my piece, whether it's 100 people against me or not. It will come out. But then I'm always trying to center myself and look for that peace within myself.
yeah.
So that hit home.
Yeah, there's something that's even more profound here is in the South Node is in Taurus, and Jupiter conjunct the South Node. It to me, looking at the chart, it jumps out. So it's
Can
we
you
can
share
there's
your
a
screen?
yeah. Mhm.
Wow, we're doing pretty good on your chart here. It takes a
Okay.
team of astrologers on like men who are with big like they were like, no, not the chart. And we're like, the chart. Okay.
Yeah,
Just so the viewers can see this. I know Dan won't really make sense of that, but
yeah. So we don't know the time. So disregard the houses. But either way, you know, like I see this and it jumps out because we can talk about peace, and I think that's my main term for Taurus. But when Jupiter is there, that peace takes on a religious feel, right? It's like whether it's conscious or not, but there is this deep like conviction that peace is the way. and you can also you can hear right that it's like a religious war. I believe in this so strongly that I'm not going to back down.
Yeah,
But
Dan, you have gotten real spiritual in your old age about like peace. I have seen you post stuff that's like extremely like, are you a Buddhist or what is?
I wouldn't say I'm a Buddhist. I meditate, um, and I kind of found my own path. But I did spend immense amount of years like trying to figure out my religion and all that. And what I really came down to is being okay with I don't know. But I did always want to find that peace amongst other people, and I wanted to right the wrongs. Like I can't sit by and let injustices happen in front of me without without that bubbling up, that chest popping out, you know? I
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just had a flare of that last week. Mars hit that last week, and I know that you had some changes in your personal structure, but like last week was a big flare. So it's like, I don't know. I think it would be cool to time your flares because I would really love to see if you can start feeling it as chi. Like once you start watching your chart, you're like, oh my God, here it comes. And like I know we're applying it to things like it's injustice, it's this and that, but what I would say is it's the way you're wired to build up chi and explode it out. And that's why I love having you be like a warrior of, an activist warrior of some kind, because then when you're in those flares, you're like, oh, that's it. I'm going to lobby down at the Capitol or like whatever you end up doing with that energy. We try to point it in the right way. Just like if you put a river pointed into the basement of your house, it's going to flood your house. But if you tweak that energy and you pour it down to the garden and it irrigates the garden, everything grows. What we do is like point that energy to what it can help with, as opposed to just going all over like shrapnel or something.
yeah, and for me, I really advocate for the astrological language because it helps us make sense of things. And so, like to lean into this idea of because we live in a time where like religion or religious is a taboo subject. And so a lot of people will say I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And I kind of understand it. And I don't mean orthodox religion. I mean religion is when there's something that you believe in so strongly that you feel compelled to take action. Anytime we hear the words right or wrong coming out of our mouth, that's Jupiter. It's a religious consideration, right? In astrology, the sign that Jupiter rules is Sagittarius. It's the arrow that hits the mark, right? And the center of the bullseye is always the right place, and missing the center is always the wrong place. And the concept of the word sin, it comes from archery and missing the mark. So this idea of right and wrong is a religious consideration. And when someone has Jupiter prominent in their chart, and I think there's few placements more prominent than Jupiter conjunct the South Node, I think it's really important to have a strong consideration about what one believes in, because it's going to help them understand why they feel so passionate about moving in a certain direction.
Interesting. I
And
like that. Like where if Dan knew what his beliefs were, which it sounds like you're saying is important from his chart, and it sounds like he did some exploration there of like, what do I believe? But I think that would help him decide what to fight for. If
100%,
Yeah.
100%. That's exactly
Dan,
what
what
I'm
do you
saying.
want to fight for? Like, what is your fight?
Well, like the activist came up to me a couple years back when it came time to for Minnesota to vote on gay marriage. Um, for the first time in my life, I stood up and I volunteered and I tried to make my difference. Um, and I love I most of my adult life I worked with kids, at risk kids, and I love being a voice for them, being a voice for the voiceless. That's
Wow.
that's kind of a passion for me.
What that would be such a good use of this is just to like
Ooh,
go off in
yeah,
support of a child who's being abused. Like, there's those guys who go to court, like the big like motorcycle dudes who like go to court with the kids, and like you could do that with this
yeah,
chart.
yeah. So yeah, what I'm feeling, and I can feel it because I'm getting emotional, is what you can hear is the idea of voice, voice, voice. Okay. And the South Node in Taurus, the ruler right here, Venus is conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication, which is conjunct the Gemini, and they're both conjunct the Gemini sun, which is about expressing, right?
Yeah.
Talking, and there's this specific thing about Mercury, the things that we notice, the things that interest us, are the things that we're going to spend more time thinking about. And when we talk about, people will recognize, wow, you spend a lot of time thinking about this. I think the best compliment a Gemini can get is someone says that we're thoughtful. We're thoughtful, right? As I said that, right, the pen is mightier than the sword. Okay, right? That the ability to rightly articulate something that you're passionate about, right? In the course of history, that has changed things. Let's change things. So I would say lean into the things that interest you the most, because those are going to be the things that you are going to be most convincing when you talk about, because those are the things you spent the most time thinking about.
So, so you're saying that Leverty has a strong, voice in the chart, and that talking about these passion points for him could be one way to get rid of the chi. Is like, I think this, like that. That'd be one way. I'm curious though, Dan, when you get mad, it looks to me from the chart that it gets kind of physical. Like, are you physical?
Um, I would say no. I would say no for the most part. It's a real internal struggle for the most part. Um, yeah, so I would say it's more internal than physical.
So you just kind of process, like you kind of go off, like you beat the self up, or like, what's your temper? Or like, do you just flee? Do you say I'm out of here? Is like, what is the temper response?
Um, a lot of it is I'm out of here. I'm out of here, or I'll take myself away from the situation. Um, but sometimes it does come out.
Mhm.
But I would say it's less physical. Um, there's times when it needs to be physical. Um, but like it's never with a domestic partner, or it's never, it's I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to stand there and have that argument. And if it's something I'm passionate about, I will stand there and I will stand until being physical is the only thing left.
Interesting. So in some ways, it's kind of like an anger flee. That's so Uranus, Ricky. Like when you're angry to just like I'm out of here. That like the planet Uranus causes a lot of like unexpected separations and like unexpected changes and things like that. It's kind of like, yeah. But so
I
okay.
also think the Saturn here, because right, when we think of an aspect, right, an aspect is two planets are connected to each other. Two parts of us are connected to each other. So when one gets activated, the other one gets activated too. And because that dual activation happens in our lives over and over and over and over and over and over again, it manifests as habitual. Okay. And so Mars, I think of Mars as the aggressive urge, right? We start to feel the anger, and it said it's internal, right? Because all of the planets manifest first as internal. And Mars, at least our training in Mars, especially when Saturn is there, is no, right? The energy of Saturn says no. So part of the issue when Saturn is connected to Mars is the training is no. So it's difficult to handle something when we've decided that it's wrong. And I would say further deciding that it's wrong is the South Node in Taurus, the place where you're coming from, is the belief in peace. And I think this is what causes the buildup and the bust, because an unhealthy belief in peace. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. It kind of creates a place where the Mars doesn't really have an outlet. So it has to build up, build up, build up, and be explosive.
Okay.
So Mars, one more piece here. Mars is the aggressive urge. Saturn is the safety urge. So the experience is this anger is not safe. Okay. This anger is not safe. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because it has no place to go. That's actually what makes it unsafe. You know, and also to honor Saturn, right? To me, if anything that Saturn is connected to, it's telling us it's going to take a while. It's gonna take a minute, right? And so in the beginning, especially keeping the lid on it, right, at least to a certain extent, not a bad idea, but right, to appreciate Saturn at maturity when it's cooked. When it's cooked, it's time for it to go, right? If we overcook it, right, that's where we're going to get ourselves into trouble. So it takes a while, right? There's a certain kind of mature anger, but it takes a while and it takes experiences, takes bumping our head a little bit to be able to develop it. But my Saturn phrase, fine wine gets better with time. Okay. So the idea is when perfecting aggression or anger, something you aim for later in life. And it's important to have an image of someone later in life, Saturn the elder, Mars, who's passionate and making a difference in life. And the reason that they're passionate and making a difference in life is because of the lessons they learned handling that warrior energy.
Yeah, that really explains things well for me. Like that really hit home, because there is that internal struggle where I want so much for there to be peace among us other people, and I try to bring people together, and then all of a sudden, bam, I explode. So like,
Yeah.
I really felt what you were saying there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, okay, so one of the things about charts is they're cyclical and they have multiple aspects of personality in one human. Okay, so we would say you have a very peaceful chart. 4 out of 10 planets are in a peaceful position. I'm going to show you the Taurus room. Okay, look how peaceful Taurus energy is. Okay, that's you 4 parts of the time. But then cyclically, you go off in this kind of more Leo, like orange, and it's Leo and Scorpio. It's like orange and black, like, oh, so it's like you actually are 4 parts peaceful and then 1 part explosive, which makes it really hard to understand the self because in peaceful terminology, there's like in Buddhism, they're always like non-attachment. We never blow up. We sit on a magic carpet, just, the world's blowing up around us and we're just like peaceful Buddhas. But your chart's 4 parts peaceful Buddha and 1 part maniac, and it will cyclically express. And so, see how confusing that would be if you didn't understand this cyclical clock that we're looking at?
Yeah, that does sound like my internal struggles.
Yeah,
four
that's
parts good, 1 part like rah!
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
And
Yeah.
another piece of that, what kind of Ricky was talking about, is you go from, for everyone watching, this black part is Saturn and Cancer. It's like you go from this feeling of like darkness and tightness in the chest, and then within the next 10 hours, it goes into this flame in the front. So it's like you go from this tightness feeling to like flame in the front, and it happens within 10 hours. So that's another thing I'm when I'm looking at. I hope we're not proselytizing astrology to you. This is just an astrology show. This is how we look at
Oh
things.
no, we're good. I'm
Okay,
learning a lot.
nice. So are we. Ricky and I have never really analyzed a chart together before.
Well, I'm glad to be the first.
Yeah, you got a complicated one. It's if I didn't know, I don't know how I would be you if I didn't know my chart. Like I would just because it goes from here to here in like 10 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a flip of a switch.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool, man. That's kind of cool. You should
Yeah.
text me next time.
Yeah. Mm. But and it's funny because I find that intelligent people naturally solve the chart, and I'd say the tension that we talked about is, I would say the solution is the Pisces moon and the sun opposing Neptune. And I would say a meditation practice.
But she has. I was thinking we could look into astrological remediation under Mars problems and Mars remedies. Might be kind of interesting since anger is one of the issues with this, issue. Can we look at Mars?
I think Mars for many reasons is where I would definitely start
Okay, so,
remediation. Yeah.
so now, Dan, we're gonna look at remedies for what to do. We're not just gonna be like, yeah, you totally got a cyclical warrior in there and just like, see ya. We're gonna be like, what do you do when you flare, So listen to this. Problematic presentations of Mars, which you flare at the third degree. Anger, rage, fevers, not wanting to sit still, wanting to pop out of one's body, the urge to explode, wanting to hurt the self or others. And let's be adults, sexual frustration is also in there. Okay. That's what it says in the book. Okay.
All right, all right. The book you wrote.
The book I wrote. Because I'm an adult. I wrote an adult book.
There you go.
But do you see how if Mars in its problematic cycle, it's like this feeling like I want to explode, I want to pop out of my body, I'm angry, I'm rageful. That is Mars pathologically expressing, or Mars without wisdom on it. It's just that's what the energy. It actually makes people heat up inside. Like I don't know if you ever get red in the chest or up in the neck, but like Mars and Leo can actually make a red burn like up in here actually. Um so you should watch next time you're raging, look at your chest to see if it's red or your face because literally Mars fills us with iron, just like a woman gets PMS. She gets passionate Mars syndrome, as I call it, but she fills up with iron and then she iron dumps at her period and she gets better, right? You're filling up with iron and then you're iron dumping, right? So it's like, so you actually do get red in the face. And do you know what cupping is?
I do. I don't know it well, but I do know what it is.
So what the ancients would prescribe for Mars problems is bloodletting. And they would actually take the red out. So one of the, like we can use the anger, which we'll talk more about, but we can also take it out. We can be like, I'm sick of this, and you can cup yourself and like pull out the red. You can actually take it out of there. So,
Okay.
you know, there's also that kind of remedy. But do we kind of understand the problems with Mars at this point? Okay, it's like anger. Okay, so what are the
Yeah.
remedies? Sports, working out, weightlifting, tattooing, piercing, airing one's grievances. So just like going off is very martial, like, and then this, venting, being passionate, being feisty, like roughhousing is very, like when kids roughhouse, that's very Mars energy. Um, Yelling, pushing through problems, headbanging. You could go to a show and headbang. Contending. So like football, like when you're contending, Mars comes out on the battlefield, so we don't see it on the side usually. Adventures and shenanigans, and watching ultimate fighting or wrestling. Those
Yeah.
are
Well, with that, I would say like the adventures really hit me. Um, I go to a lot of festivals or concerts or going to new events and doing things. And when I do that, I'm I'm free, and I'm at my best self. Even with like memory issues and things like that. Like I go to We Fest with some people I love to death, and and it's like there's zero problems in the world. So really, the adventures of life and traveling, and those adventures are really a good outlet for me because that's when I feel like I'm at my strongest and I'm at my best.
that's so Mars and Leo, Ricky. Like you
Well,
just
I
got to go
mean,
have fun. Sorry.
well, maybe. I mean, I think that's part of it. But what I'm hearing is the Jupiter, the adventure, the travel, and then the Venus, Mercury, and it said it over and over again, but other people, other people, other people, other people. And so, right, it's interesting to think about a remedy because we can think about a remedy specific to Mars issues, or we can think about a remedy that's more specific to the whole chart. And so we could say a person, this chart with all the Taurus stuff, Venus there, Jupiter there, both of the positive, loving, wonderful, good planets there, is that if you lean into Taurus stuff, right? If you surround yourself with people that you feel comfortable around, okay, then we can call it a remedy, but it's just like, but it's more, right? That these are the people that have the hardest time activating the Mars. So it's not necessarily a remedy. It's more like I'm putting myself in environments where I don't have to deal with it. You know, it makes me think of my mom. She's a super Marsy person. And one day we were talking and she's like, I don't have a temper. It's just as long as I'm by myself. But if she's around people, she's going to go off on somebody, you know? And so I wouldn't call it a remedy necessarily. I would call it medicine, you know? I was like, if you want to feel good, right? The number one medicine that's always going to bring greater joy into your life is to go around people that you feel comfortable with. I might also say music, right? These things, and if you're doing them together, oh wow, right? You're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. And and for Mars, and I think what you described, Andy, is we can call it a remedy, but it's more of a venting, of where to put it. But I think when it becomes discordant, sometimes the venting will help it because if we get rid of all of it, like I had this crazy pit bull that would just attack anything moving. And the only thing we could do is we'd have to run it until it was so tired. It was too tired to attack anything. Right? Was it a remedy? It was an opportunity for it to learn new habits because it was so tired. But I don't know if I would call it a remedy. Right? And the way I think of a remedy for Mars is the moon, right? Is the moon. Because if you take aggression and you direct it towards the people that you love the most, it gets transformed into acts of service. It gets transformed into doing things to protect them. And I think this ties into the need to people that are right, because the moon and our sensitivity, especially in Pisces, it's going to be to women and children, right? People that are vulnerable, right? And so, right, a remedy, right, when you feel the anger, right, focus on the people that are most vulnerable and direct that energy to see what you can do for them. Hmm.
I would say his Mars might go off on people close to him. I don't know. I with people who have hard Marses like Leverty has, I always try to make sure that the charts they're close to are not exacerbating the Mars. Like for example, he might if he interacted with somebody who had Mars at the third degree, they might fight, right? But if somebody had a nice thing at Mars, like or at the third degree, he'd be kind of going off, and the other person would be like, "Oh, look, like he and I have hard Marses, but our Marses don't attack each other's chart. Like so we didn't really fight, I don't think.
What I'm saying though, if you activate the Pisces moon, right, it'll disarm the Mars. Right? It's like if he gets activated and he starts thinking of people that are vulnerable, that are need help,
Mhm.
right? It redirects the Mars. It
I can see where his chart, because it's a Pisces moon, might want to help the underdog. Like, so I think
Yes,
that generally the thing, because Pisces moons are like bleeding heart do-gooders. So it's like, if he's a bleeding heart do-gooder, then he should be an activist for people who are
yes,
oppressed, basically.
yes,
Like, so I
yes.
definitely think taking that anger and being like fighting for the underdog would, because well, you were fighting for like problem children in high school, weren't you? I mean, like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like the only time I was ever a bully, when you say that, the only time I bullied the bullies, like I wouldn't let other people, I wouldn't let the quote unquote weak get tormented by the strong. Um, there was one kid in a wheelchair that he came to my house and he started crying. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with you graduating because I always watched out for him. I watched out for him on the bus. I watched out for him here or there. And I had multiple instances of that, of people coming up to me and thanking me or acknowledging me for sticking up for them. So that's always hit home.
Have you heard in Dungeons and Dragons there's a class of fighters called chaotic good?
Yes.
Oh,
I feel like you're chaotic good. Like you're a good guy. You're not a villain, but you have a chaos like element where you're just like, "Oh hell no, I'm out of here." Or you're that we're out of here. But I think your Pisces moon is good. Like you're a good guy. You're not a villain per se, but you're like a warrior good guy.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
And I want to go back to something Ricky said. I didn't want to interrupt him. Um, and he said when he said the people I really care about and the people I love and the music and all that, like that is medicine, and that's kind of that hit home more than almost anything said here today. I am a person who needs my people, and I'm at my worst when I don't have my people. Um, I have a hard time getting close to those people or expressing that to them. But when they're there, I appreciate it and I love it. Um, so I just wanted to acknowledge what Ricky said there because that really is my medicine.
Yeah.
Good job, Ricky. Cutie. You're doing such a good job being an astrologer.
I love what I do. I finally found something I'm good at.
Oh yeah, you weren't good at football. You know what I
No.
like
You got
about
that
Ricky?
passion for it.
Ricky's really good with the dudes. Like a lot of dudes, especially with hard Marses, won't look at astrology because they're just like, no on astrology or whatever. But like Ricky's really good with like the football dudes. So
Nice.
I don't know if I would have really, if you really would have listened to me in the same way, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think I would. I think I would, but I totally understand what you're saying there. Like I perceive Ricky going through life as an alpha, and I feel that same way. And so there's sometimes when those energies can meet, and there's just uh, a different understanding of things.
Yeah. What there's some warrior, there's like Buddhist warriors. I can't remember what they're called, but they you might want to look into that where the warriors for peace. Like because I feel like you're one of those like you're like a warrior for peace. And I really that hit home a lot with what Ricky was saying today is how peaceful your chart is also because I think it's confusing when you're so peaceful but you're also a warrior. And I think looking at the archetypes of peace warriors might really make some sense.
Yeah, I think that would hit home.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be cyclically watching you. Now I got your chart, and like when you're flaring, I'm gonna be looking at your Facebook page, just checking out the battle going on there. No, I don't know.
Oh, there's an eternal battle. There's an
Yeah.
eternal battle happening.
All right, well, we have 2 minutes. Anything anyone else would like to say? Dan, I'm so glad you came on here and we're an open book. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. It's always great to see you. And Ricky, I very much appreciate your time and going over this with me. This was a lot of fun and very eye-opening. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I have a kid, my oldest son, and he's an Aries. And he told me once that he has got a reoccurring dream where he's in a video game and there's obstacles that he has to overcome to get to the end. And I think there's something about being a man that we need that kind of story. You know? We need that narrative of we're trying to accomplish something and that there's a beginning, there's obstacles, and there's an end where we get some kind of prize or reward. And so I at least, or that's me, and I think very much in terms of story. And if I can take any situation and turn it into a story where I can see myself right going through obstacles, getting to the other side and winning. And this is what sports is. Every game is a story. Right? That's why we're so enthralled. That's why we watch. Because there's a beginning, there's obstacles, and then there's a victor at the end. And I think that's just the way I don't know if it's men or the way my mind is built. And so when I look at astrology, that's what my mind produces is that kind of narrative.
Yes. There's nothing quite like astrology, man. I think astrology won over CTE today.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have won my battle. That's what I was here to battle. I've been trying to help Dan for a long time. I tried to teach him to drink kefir like a high school boy drinks milk. Remember that one?
I do. I
Because
do. And you know what? I didn't follow that advice. I'm sorry.
that's the Pisces moon. I was like, your enzymes are burning. Drink kefir. I was like, kefir slam. Okay.
You are the Pisces moon.
Yeah. All right, you guys. It was a wonderful hour of my life. Dan, I still am in love with you.
I love you, Andy.
I know
Oh.
why you broke up with me now. It was your Mars square Uranus. It wasn't me.
It definitely wasn't you.
All right, Ricky, don't worry. Don't be jealous. I'll love you next week.
Oh, good.
All
I'll
right.
be there. All right.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.